Hi, Pete, the peptide guy in the podcast lane. And I'm with tax expert Kimberly Schreiber. So, taxes, as soon as January hits, everybody hears it, right? And it's like this thing that weighs on you. Oh my God, I have a deadline and I had to do this and I do that. And being a tax professional and doing what you do, what gravitated you to this first, like this world of tax?
Okay, I've been doing this for a very long time. I started off with bookkeeping,
Okay.
and apparently I was pretty good at it. So my clients came to me and said, Kimberly, you need to learn taxes. We need you to do our taxes. And that was the whole process. I'd always wanted to understand it. I'm a numbers girl. I call myself a geek because I'm always about the numbers. But so I was like, okay, so I took a Jackson Hewitt course back in Georgia back in 2005 and passed the course, passed the IRS exam, got IRS registered, and then just took it from there. And my clients were really happy. Worked really hard for them, understood the tax law, understood a lot of them were self-employed, Schedule C, business owners, entrepreneurs, and so I really focused on that for them. And I kind of structured my business for the small businesses because they didn't understand. They didn't know. They didn't know what bookkeeping was. They didn't know what tax was. Why do I owe at the end of the year? How can you fix that? And
Yeah.
that's how I got started into it.
Yeah, I could say, I mean, it's super complex. Right? We were just having a conversation before we went live here about, the little nuances that people might not know about, right?
Right.
They hear something and it sounds great, but you have the education and the still learning, right? You're still learning. You just
Yes.
came
Yeah.
from, where'd you just come from?
California.
Okay, yeah, and you're at a tax event.
Tax conference.
Yeah, tax conference, right? So you're constantly learning and evolving in what this
Right.
tax world is like now,
Right.
right? And doing
Right.
it. Um, what are the most common mistakes that people make, not only personally, but since you work with businesses and
Right.
businesses?
Right.
What's the
I
most
would have to
common?
say one of the common mistakes is their lack of knowledge. And that's a big one because when I start working with them and I start explaining things and telling them, okay, we need this, we need that, you can do this, I can take that deduction, really? Yes. And I go to these conferences every year. I do they call it the tax update. So I just did 2025 tax update and they really emphasize on they changed the name. Well, they didn't really change the name, but it's OB3, the one big beautiful bill. And the three stands for the three B's. And I learned about no tax on tips. I learned about no tax on overtime, what that really looks like. And so I do a lot of education throughout the year so that I can take this knowledge to my clients. And one of the things that I learned through these conferences that I take is that the IRS says no receipt, no deduction. And that's what I really teach and want to teach my clients is because I need a receipt. So let's say you have an entrepreneur, you have a small business, you have several people working for you, and you have multiple credit cards tagged to one main account, and you send somebody to the store to get some products for X, Y, and Z job, and they decide to make a little detour and go over and buy a brand new TV. But they don't bring the receipt back for you. So you end up in an audit, and Mr. IRS man says, where's the receipt for the TV? You not staying on top of your books and not understanding the process of what's going on in your business, you're like, what TV? What are you talking about?
Got it.
Well, I see TV expense here. Where's the TV? I don't see it here in your office. We have to take that deduction for you. And guess what? Your taxable income just went up because you lost that deduction because you didn't have a receipt. And that's what I like to teach my clients.
Oh, so that's great. So it's you're not just a tax person; you're an educator in taxes.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, which I think is genius because I think that's where most people, including myself, we get lost. Because again, you're
Yes.
listening to all this information, and you see the ad on TV. Oh, I can get it done in 15 minutes, and you're all set, and it's just like, no, that doesn't
No, I'm
sound
sorry.
right.
That is incorrect.
Okay, yeah, right. Because
Yeah.
that's what I need to see Kimberly, right? Because yeah,
Yes.
okay, good,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
no, absolutely. Um, what what simple things can you give advice to on making the tax season easier for somebody going through the entire year? Besides, make sure you have your receipts. What else
Right,
would be
right.
important?
Um, I feel that communication. You can't just drop in your P&L and your balance sheet and turn around and walk away and expect for a miracle to happen and get a huge refund on your tax return if you're not involved. Because there's going to be questions that within the tax software that I have to ask you. And due diligence is my number one in my business. My integrity is number one. It states it on my business card. I pledge to serve with integrity. And I've had clients come in and say, well, just plug that number. Just do the expenses I did last year.
Right.
I'm really sorry, but I can't do that for you. I need actuals. I
Mm-hmm.
need to know where those numbers came from. Where's your receipts to support those deductions? Because if there was an audit, you know, how am I going to support you in that?
Yeah.
Well, they just gave me the numbers. If they don't want to give me the receipts and they don't want to give me the detail that created that expense, then they have to sign on the form that they gave me that these are the receipts that I'm giving Kimberly to process my tax return. Because there's a liability, there's a due diligence on me. I do have audit protection that my clients get up to $1 million. If I were to make a mistake as their preparer,
Right.
I were to fat finger, or I got in a rush, or I worked too many hours that day and I got a little tired, and they ended up in the audit, I have audit protection, and it would not cost the tax preparer any money. It costs them on the front end, which is very minimal. I charge them very, very minimal for it, but they get up to $1 million insurance policy basically on that tax return.
Wow. So you don't just do taxes, you educate, and you're like a protector as
Yes.
well. Wow. So you're protecting the people against themselves, which
Yeah,
is
really?
fantastic.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely no. And I think that that's needed. And again, because and we had this conversation off camera, was it is stressful. They make it so like, the tax man's coming for you, and it makes it so daunting, and a
Right.
daunting task that some people just don't know what to do. They'll go the simplest route, and mistakes can happen that way, right?
Right. Right.
So what are the biggest mistakes that you've seen that are so simple that could be avoided?
The tax deductions.
Yeah.
Tax deductions, they leave a lot of money on the table. One thing I teach a lot with my networking groups is how many of you tracked your mileage up here coming up to this meeting? This is a business meeting. You're marketing your business. This is now a business event. How many of you tracked your mileage? Last year for 2025, it was 70 cents a mile. This year, 2026, 72.5 cents a mile.
Okay.
So it's just like I tell my clients when I do networking events and do speakings around the valley, like, how many of you I'll tape $100 bill to the back of a receipt, and I'll throw, how many of you need this $100 bill? And the whole room, oh yeah, I need it, Kimberly, I need that. Can I have that?
Yeah.
Okay,
You,
well,
you have the 100 now? I need it.
yeah. Did you track your mileage coming up here?
Right.
No.
Hmm.
Okay, well, roll your window down while you're on the freeway and throw that $100 bill out the window, because that's exactly what you just did
Oh no. Oh yeah.
by not tracking your mileage. If I can share with you, I had a client last year, Kimberly, I didn't do a lot, a realtor, I didn't sell much, I really need some money. Can you please help me? I'm like, okay, give me your receipt. Let's work through this. And she was getting minimal, maybe $300. That's not enough. That's not enough. I need more. I need a minimum of like $1,500. What can you do for me?
Right.
I said, well, let's look at your mileage. Okay. A couple days go by. We're getting close to deadline. I'm like, called her and I said, I guess we're not going to do the mileage because we're running out of time. No, I need the money. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And I said, okay, I'll do this for you. I said, you give me your MLS listings. You tell me how many times you went to that house to show it, or how many times you went to go check on any maintenance and repair that needed to be done. I said, and then I sat down and I calculated to and from, and I ended up getting her about $1,500.
Wow.
Just through her mileage.
See, simple things.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an interesting thing you do because it's just not taxes. It's like this full, you get the Kimberly armor service. And I like that. So, we have to end it there, but thank you so much for coming on, explaining some of the little nuances and what you do that's so special.
Thank you.
And again, I'm definitely gonna look you up for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will make it as fun as possible for you. I know it's a grueling process, but I will definitely make it fun. You will learn, you will gain knowledge, and you'll feel good when you leave KBS TaxKeeping.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.